Fights can either make you victorious or the exact opposite. You bite off more than you can chew and you get owned. In today's video, we'll show you what happens when cocky amateur fighters get owned. Before we begin though, make sure to subscribe to Trend Loops and hit the bell icon for notifications. Now, let's get into it. Perhaps boxing's biggest troll is no other than Charlie Zelenoff. If you like watching YouTube videos about boxing, you might already be familiar with this guy. He has a channel about the sport and has posted videos of himself in the ring in 2014. According to him, he is a UBF world champion. Well, to be fair, he has beaten a few fighters in local gyms, the streets, and some challenges. In this clip though, we see Zelenoff getting a beating, and if you're familiar with his trolling antics, you can really say it's well deserved. Here's when he fought Floyd Mayweather Sr., one of the sport's best coaches and a former boxer himself. Zelenoff was actually doing well for a few moments until Mayweather decided to switch gears and go head on with Zelenoff. Immediately, Zelenoff's smirk faded away as he kept receiving Mayweather's strong punches. While the old coach may not be as strong as he used to be, he can still definitely beat young ones, especially trolls on the internet. Here is another clip of a martial arts coach dominating against a challenger. Yep, this guy in green had lots of confidence to challenge this Muay Thai instructor. Turns out that the one in green is a street fighter and was probably looking for a way to show off his street fighting skills. In the first few seconds, the coach allows the street fighter to throw some punches and kicks, and the street fighter may have even thought that he was going to win the match. Well, his kicks are far from enough, and if you look closely, those kicks aren't really that powerful. One counter kick from the coach could easily throw off his balance. That said, in the next few seconds, we see the coach fighting back with a few kicks of his own. Then came the big kick, which knocked the street fighter out. He still tried to get up, but he was quickly stopped by another blow. This only goes to show that it's usually a bad idea to challenge coaches. This guy here is a former professional kickboxer in Japan. From his build and profile alone, you can already tell he's someone you don't want to mess with. Unfortunately for this other guy here, he may have missed the signs as he challenged the kickboxer to a match. At first glance, you can already tell that the challenger has no chance of winning this one. For one, he's much smaller. Another thing is that he's just a random fighter who probably only has experience in street fights. Compare that to the experience and skill of a professional kickboxer. It's a no-brainer for sure. The challenger still tries to beat the guy though. As you can see here, he throws several kicks and punches. The former kickboxer is unfazed by all of these, with no signs of getting hurt or feeling pain. He even lets the challenger freely do all movements and only throws a few kicks and punches against him. Throughout the match, the kickboxer looks effortless in his technique while the challenger struggles. Towards the end of the clip, we could see more of this as the kickboxer wins the match. If there's one rule you shouldn't forget when in a boxing gym, it has to be this: never arrogantly challenge anyone in the gym. Also, never claim you can beat anyone easily, especially if you don't have the skills, strength, and experience to back you up. For this guy with the red gloves, he broke this rule proudly. Yep, he challenged pretty much everyone in the gym at that time, and the instructor knew exactly what to do. He arranged for one of his students, the one with the blue gloves, to fight the guy. They were both having none of it, and he decided to give the other guy what he wanted. Here, you can see him doing all sorts of silly moves, almost mocking the whole thing. He really shouldn't be in a fighting ring. Going back to the one with blue gloves, he took his time and then 2 quick punches to knock his opponent out. Of course, he didn't take this lightly and said some words. He should have never gone into the boxing gym so smug in the first place. There seems to be no shortage of people who randomly challenge professional fighters to a match. These people probably want to prove something, or perhaps they're doing it for views. We'll never really know why they start these challenges. I mean, I really wouldn't dare to challenge a professional fighter to a real match. For this guy right here in white though, it's the exact opposite, just like the amateur fighters from previous clips. Turns out he already kept challenging the instructor to a fight. He's pretty brave considering that the instructor is an MMA fighter. He also boasts that he could easily beat the instructor with his Taekwondo and Aikido martial arts skills. He even says that Jiu-Jitsu won't work against him. We'll find out soon enough if his claims are true, and as you can see, his words are far from reality, as he was only able to do a few kicks before being pinned to the ground by the instructor. Up next, next is another amateur fighter who thinks he can easily beat a pro. These people really do have a lot of confidence. Look at the guy in white. See how he's pinned to the ground with barely any fight left in him? It's ironic because he's the amateur who challenged the other fighter early on. Like most of these fights, the challengers always seem to end up on the losing side. The next clip you're about to see is proof that muscles and size aren't always enough to win a fight. Here we have bodybuilder Rambo Guns challenging Alan Green to a boxing fight. Alan is a professional boxer while Rambo has a body of steel. That said, it's easy to assume that the playing field is equal for both sides. Well, despite Rambo's bodybuilding skills, his punches aren't really that great. As you can see here, Rambo's punches are pretty much everywhere, leaving some open spaces which eventually got him knocked down in the end. He also ended up bleeding. I guess it's safe to say that bodybuilding isn't really an advantage in a boxing match. Remember Charlie Zelenoff from the first clip? Well, he's got more boxing fails, and here's one of them. This was the first boxing humiliation for him, but of course, this didn't stop him from challenging more fighters in the future. For this clip, he was fighting against Deontay Wilder, another boxing champion he thinks he can beat. To give some context, Zelenoff said insults and racist remarks against the boxing champ. Months later, the two finally settle it in the boxing ring. A few seconds into the fight, Zelenoff was already on the ground after Wilder threw some big punches. Those moments are already a glimpse of the match's result. While Zelenoff was on the ground, Wilder reminded him of his insults, which Wilder says is exactly why he got beat up. Zelenoff obviously didn't learn from this, as he still went on with more fights in the next few years. Here's another one who thinks he can win against an MMA fighter. The challenger is a Tai Chi Master, and from those facts alone, you can already tell how this is going to end. The MMA fighter wasted no chance to throw punches, knocking the challenger down immediately. If you look back at the clip, the challenger really stood no chance. I mean, just look at his stance and arms. How can you win against an MMA pro with that? It's no wonder he got beaten in just a few seconds. If I was an MMA fighter in the video, I would have done the same, wrapping it all up with no time wasted. In the mixed martial arts world, beginners are always welcome to join. After all, even the great fighters we know today started from scratch, right? What's not cool is when certain beginners get all cocky and think they can just barge into any fighting ring and disrespect veteran fighters. These cocky amateur fighters you've seen are a reminder to never get too arrogant, especially when matched against professional fighters. So that's all for today's episode, and if you enjoyed it, leave a like and share it with your friends and family. You can also comment on which types of videos you'd like to see from this channel in the future. Also, subscribe to Trend Loops if you haven't already. You'll want to check out our other videos. Stay tuned for more, and thanks for watching.